Homeless girl asks for a ride. What she did next shocked the driver. The fog wrapped around the empty highway like ghostly fingers reaching out from the darkness, muffling the sound of Michael Evans' rumbling semi-truck as it rolled steadily through the night. Rain whispered softly against the windshield, each drop racing the windshield wipers in a relentless rhythm. Hours had blurred into one long stretch of monotonous driving, endless miles marked only by the dim glow of distant headlights. But then, something unusual caught his eye through the mist, a fragile silhouette standing alone on the roadside. Michael squinted harder, heart tightening as he made out a young woman, barely in her 20s, dressed in a tattered white wedding gown that clung to her like a ghost's shroud. Her bare feet sank into the soggy grass, arms wrapped tightly around herself, shivering against the cold night air. Her long black hair hung in tangled, damp strands, partially obscuring a face pale and worn beyond her years, streaked with mud and bruises. For a moment, hesitation gripped him, stories of danger and deceit whispered warnings, but beneath the fog and fear, something raw and vulnerable called out to him. He eased the truck to the shoulder, the tires slipping slightly on the wet asphalt, and climbed down, palms open and voice gentle. "Hey, you okay?" he asked softly, careful not to startle her. She flinched, a fragile whimper escaping, but stayed rooted in place. In that frozen moment, Michael saw not just a desperate stranger, but a shattered soul silently begging for help in the dead of night. Michael shed his heavy flannel jacket without hesitation, the fabric damp and warm from the long night, and carefully draped it over the trembling shoulders of the girl who barely seemed to notice its weight. Her fingers clung to the worn cloth like a lifeline, desperate for even the smallest comfort in that cold, unforgiving world. Without a word, he gently guided her toward the cab of his truck, the door creaking softly as she climbed inside, collapsing into the worn seat with the exhaustion of someone who had been running for far too long. Michael moved swiftly, pulling out the thick blankets stashed behind his seat, wrapping her in layers of warmth as the heater kicked on, filling the confined space with a comforting heat that seemed to seep into her frozen bones. He handed her a bottle of water and a packet of crackers, watching with quiet relief as she devoured them with the hunger of someone starved not just for food, but for care and kindness. Outside, the rain drummed steadily against the glass, but inside the truck, a fragile silence settled between them, one that spoke of trust cautiously beginning to grow, where words were scarce but hope quietly stirred. After miles of silence, broken only by the steady hum of the engine and the soft patter of rain against the windshield, Emily finally found her voice, a fragile whisper barely carrying over the hum of the road. "My wedding," she said, each word heavy with pain, "was today." Michael glanced over, catching the haunted emptiness in her eyes as she struggled to speak the truth that still burned fresh in her heart. She swallowed hard, voice cracking. "He left me at the altar, told everyone I wasn't good enough, said marrying me was a mistake." The anger that flared within Michael was fierce and protective, burning away the cold night around them. But Emily's story didn't end there. Her voice trembled as she revealed the cruel mockery that followed. He and his friends, they laughed, made bets on how long it'd take before I begged to come back. Her breath hitched, eyes glazing over with the weight of betrayal so raw it threatened to break her. "I ran," she whispered, the words jagged yet resolute. "Ran right out of that church, through the fields, down the road, until I couldn't feel my feet anymore." Michael gripped the steering wheel tighter, the knot in his stomach tightening as he fought back his own emotions. Knowing there were no words strong enough to heal such wounds, only the quiet promise that she didn't have to face it alone. The truck rolled slowly into the soft glow of a small roadside diner, its neon sign flickering like a beacon of hope against the lingering mist and fading rain. Michael killed the engine with a practiced ease, the sudden silence inside the cab feeling both heavy and relieving at once. He turned toward Emily, whose gaze was fixed on the cracked linoleum floor beneath her feet, the weight of her story still etched in the tight set of her jaw and the distant sadness in her eyes. "Listen to me, Emily," Michael began, his voice low but steady, a careful mixture of strength and gentleness crafted from years of witnessing hardship and survival. "The way they treated you? That says nothing about you. It's on them. Cowards hurt people because they're scared of their own emptiness. A flicker of something, hope, Disbelief, maybe even the faintest glimmer of trust, crossed Emily's face as she lifted her eyes to meet his. Searching for something solid to hold onto amid the wreckage of her world. "You're not broken," he said firmly, his hand resting briefly on hers in a gesture of quiet reassurance. "You're bruised. There's a difference." For a long moment, the two sat in the stillness between words, the diner's warm hum wrapping around them like a protective shield from the storm outside. Slowly, Michael rose and offered his hand, guiding Emily from the truck's confined space into the welcoming embrace of the diner's warmth. The scent of fresh coffee mingled with sizzling bacon and maple syrup, filling the air with a comforting promise of normalcy. Heads turned as they entered. A man in worn work boots with a barefoot girl in a tattered wedding dress wasn't a common sight. But Michael ignored the stares, leading her to a booth by the window where the rain outside had softened to a gentle mist. He ordered 2 hearty breakfasts piled high with pancakes, eggs, and crispy bacon, a silent declaration that tonight wasn't about rushing miles or keeping schedules, it was about healing. Emily hesitated when the plates arrived, fingers trembling as she reached for the fork, as if unsure she deserved this moment of peace. Yet with each bite, her posture shifted, a subtle easing of tension as the warmth of the food seeped into her cold, exhausted body. Around them, the soft clatter of cutlery and murmur of quiet conversations created a cocoon of life. A reminder that safety and kindness still existed in the world. Michael said little, giving her space to simply be, to rest, to breathe, to reclaim a fragment of herself without the weight of judgment or expectation. And as Emily stole tentative glances out the rain-speckled window, clinging to Michael's jacket like a lifeline tethering her to this newfound sanctuary, something fragile began to bloom, a quiet resilience, a whisper of hope that maybe, just maybe, tomorrow held a chance for something better. In the weeks that followed, Michael became more than just a fleeting guardian on a rainy highway. He transformed into an unwavering pillar in Emily's fractured world. With quiet determination, he reached out to old friends scattered across the country, people who owed him favors, people who remembered his kindness and were willing to pay it forward. From a weary mechanic in Amarillo who could coax life back into rusted engines, to a pastor's wife in Kansas City whose warmth extended beyond Sunday sermons, to a diner owner in Tulsa with a heart as generous as her home-cooked meals. Each became a stitch in the safety net Michael was weaving for Emily. At first, it was a simple place to rest, a roof over her head that shielded her from the harsh realities of the street. Then came clean clothes that felt like a second skin, a gentle reminder of dignity slowly reclaiming its place. A job followed, not glamorous or easy, just washing dishes at the diner where she'd first tasted hope, but it was enough to spark a flame within her weary spirit. Every morning, Emily showed up with sleeves rolled up and eyes lifted high, refusing to be defined by the scars of her past. Each night, after long hours of scrubbing and wiping, Michael would slide into a booth at the same diner, watching as she wiped tables with a quiet pride that spoke volumes about her resilience. The conversations they shared were laced with light-hearted teasing and genuine admiration. "You're tougher than most men I know," he'd joke, earning a soft laugh that danced around the pain lurking just beneath her smile. In return, Emily confessed, "You're the first person who didn't look at me like I was trash." Her words, simple yet profound, hung between them like a sacred truth. But Emily's journey wasn't just about survival, it was about transformation. She enrolled in night classes to earn her GED, poring over textbooks with the fierce determination of someone who refused to be broken. Sundays found her volunteering at the local shelter, extending the kindness she had been given to others who walked paths similar to hers. Slowly, the spark in her eyes grew brighter, a stubborn flame that refused to be snuffed out by the shadows of her past. And though the road was far from easy, each step forward was a testament to the quiet power of hope and human connection, the kind of hope that Michael had ignited simply by choosing to stop, to see, and to believe in a girl standing alone on a cold, foggy night. 2 years later, as rain drizzled softly over the familiar streets of Tulsa, Michael maneuvered his truck toward the very diner where their journey had quietly begun, a place now adorned with twinkling lights and colorful balloons, signaling celebration and new beginnings. Stepping down from the cab, his eyes instantly found Emily. No longer the fragile girl wrapped in a muddy wedding dress but a radiant woman standing tall in a crisp blue dress. Her hair neatly braided down her back, and eyes shimmering with tears she fought valiantly to hold back. Confusion flickered across Michael's face before it was swept away by an overwhelming swell of pride and disbelief. Emily broke into laughter and tears at once, rushing into his arms and nearly knocking the breath from his lungs. "Michael," she cried, her voice a blend of joy and relief. "I did it." He blinked, stunned, searching her shining face for answers as if the magnitude of her words hadn't fully sunk in. "What did you do, kiddo?" he asked softly. Heart pounding, she pulled back, beaming with a light that seemed to chase away the darkest memories. "I graduated college," she said, voice steady and filled with fierce determination. "Full scholarship, social work degree. I'm going to help girls like me, girls who think no one will ever show up for them." Michael's throat tightened as tears blurred his vision. He wiped them away roughly, overwhelmed by the transformation he had witnessed and the woman she had become. It wasn't just a graduation, it was a testament to resilience, to the power of kindness and belief, and to the unyielding human spirit that refuses to be defined by its scars. In that moment, beneath the soft drizzle and glowing lights, two souls who had found each other on a cold, lonely highway stood united, not as savior and saved, but as partners in a story of hope, healing, and new beginnings that would ripple far beyond that small diner, inspiring countless others yet to find their way.